Hello indie game fans, we don't have much time this month, so I'm blasting through the surprise releases, with more games launching out of early access, a DLC or two which looks pretty neat, and two not so indie titles that use an established IP to great effect. Let's begin with Candy Disaster Tower Defense, which, as in the title, is a tower defense game that looks pretty good. The main enemies are candy zombies, whatever that means, where you need to place a variety of towers and traps to prevent them from getting to your base and stealing your candy. It was released out of early access and looks fairly underrated, where it does give me Plants vs Zombies vibes, but with classic tower defense gameplay rather than the side-on view. I was drawn to Ancient Gods due to the art, which I think looks fantastic, combining a hero collector with Slay the Spire style combat. Yes, while some of you may groan at yet another deck builder, I do love this subgenre myself and this looks pretty neat, and as is a staple with this genre, is an early access release which is planned for 6 months. There are supposed to be more than 30 playable characters in the full version, so if you're a fan of the genre, be sure to check this out. I remember coming across Farlight Commanders when looking for shoot 'em up games, and somehow it was released last month, where I thought that the relatively large lumbering ship was quite the change from other side-scrolling shoot 'em ups. Interestingly, this is combined with a 2D side-scrolling action platformer with action on the ground, even having 4 character classes to choose from. Furthermore, this even has mechanical and narrative depth as you're battling against a greedy corporation controlling half the galaxy, having to fight through armadas in space and to land and capture the enemy base in order to claim the planet, looking like it has the ambition to be something special.
Everything we once knew is gone. We've become drifters, roaming the wastelands, scouring the wreckage for something to hold on to, searching for someone to light the way forward.
There have been a number of post-apocalyptic city builders in recent memory, where one of the better entries is Surviving the Aftermath, which has you once again building and caring for your settlers while protecting them from raiders and mutant creatures. If my memory serves me right, this initially launched on the Epic Games Store before coming to Steam, where even then it spent another year or so in early access, but more time in the oven means more time for developers to get features in and to iron out all the bugs, making this 1.0 version worth a play for fans of the genre. The open-world medieval GTA-like Rustler is a pretty wacky title, where it only looks to get crazier with the paid DLC Vinci, of course named after one eclectic inventor Leonardo da Vinci, where you now have access to a tank, flamethrower and more. I was keeping an eye on Monochrome RPG for quite a while, since the developer is fairly active on Twitter and this game has a cool look. But somehow, its release became episodic with Episode 1, The Maniacal Morning, dropping out of nowhere. This developer did make a wonderful narrated trailer, so I'll leave you to them and we'll be back in a little bit.
In a grayscale dimension named Monochrome, through the lush and abundant fields of Greyshade Valley, past the many modern, winding streets of the quaint, charming, friendly, and all-around pleasant tune-filled village known as Talent Town, down the raging torrents of Monochrome's main mode of transportation and trade, the fickle Vintage River, sits the city of entertainment, Vaudeville, where performance is a necessary life skill known by all. Tunes make or break careers in various entertainment districts. Skilled troupes might make it to a grand theater, but most will take whatever stage they can, even by force. Factions work behind the scenes to tilt audiences in their favorite performers' favor using illegal giggle gas and jitter juice. Even without these supplements, these illicit venues are hotspots for gathering and watching performances. As such, Vaudeville has made a name for itself as an amazing destination full of comedy and tragedy alike. Automiss Blotz, an otherwise average toon citizen, suffers from a crippling case of stage fright, making them the target of constant bullying. So they left. Otto joined on with Captain Smokestack's crew, and in exchange, Captain Smokestack ferried them away from their problems in the big city to a much smaller and easier to manage Talent Town. Otto found what shelter they could in a manor at the edge of Greyshade Valley, with rude furniture and a roommate who never stops partying. They made the situation work for them, until many years later. A change in leadership leaves Vaudeville in major upheaval. Mayor Lestat says, "Out with the old, in with the new." Meanwhile, rumors of being watched blink across Greyshade Valley. Possessions spring up in Vaudeville, turning supernatural acts into scapegoats. To top it all off, slime and sludge pollute the Vintage River, halting all transportation. But first, will Otto be able to make it to work on time?
If you love Idle games, the 1.0 release of Melvor Idle is a cannot miss, especially so for fans of RuneScape.
What do you get if you take a game like RuneScape and strip it down to its absolute purest form? The answer is Melvor Idle. A game where you can go on wild adventures, master over 20 unique skills, venture into perilous dungeons and face off against horrifying bosses, all while simply pressing a few buttons and watching your skill levels rocket. Your progress even continues when you're offline. Beneath Melvor's accessible modern sheen hides a fiendish complexity for those who really want to roll their sleeves up and get stuck in, with a thriving community to help you every step of the way. Melvor Idle has the depth and breadth of a skills-based MMO, allowing you to choose your adventure.
Let's kick off the top 3 with Factory Town, a title that I have been pretty high on ever since its early access release, even mentioning it in a few of my videos covering games like Factorial. This, however, has a more classic city builder style gameplay loop, where you do see the little villagers milling about as they go about their various jobs, gathering resources and feeding it into the machine that you created for maximum productivity. As such, it's similar but different enough to pure factory builder games, even adding an element of verticality which I absolutely adore. Impressively, this comes to us from a solo developer, but the early access journey has been quite a ride, and if you're still watching at this point in time, I'm sure that you are curious enough to give this a go, and I don't think that it will disappoint.
You know know what's the most beautiful sound in the world?
Oh, yes, well, of course. A string quintet playing a lovely classical arrangement.
Oh, so close! But how about something with a little more... boom!
Spoiler alert, I have never played a game of League of Legends and am not familiar with the characters at all, but in spite of that, Hextech Mayhem, a League of Legends story is a title of interest since it comes to us from developer Choice Provisions, also known as the Bit Trip Runner people.
But this isn't just about making a bunch of noise. This is about music! And explosions. Lots and lots of explosions.
As such, this is a similar kind of rhythm auto-runner, where the obstacles and mechanics have been changed up enough such that it is not a simple reskin. It does have a similar 3D look to Bit Trip Runner 3, with what I assume to be characters and assets that will be familiar to fans of the original, looking pretty good and worth a play.
That's me! I'm the Dean of Demolitions. Wait, I don't... Ah!
Alright, people, listen up. We've got a harrowing to stop. And remember, from here on out, it's Captain Fortune.
The goddess granted me a vision. The black mist enveloping the world. If the black mist has returned, I will drive it back.
I'm not losing my city to the delusions of some second-rate king.
Welcome to the wild, no hero.
The dark comes, swallow everything.
And surprise surprise, we have not one but two League of Legends games last month with Ruined King, a turn-based RPG that has you assembling a party of heroes and using them in classic turn-based RPG style combat.
The one you seek, he stirs the mist.
However, exploration does seem to be a little bit more action-packed with real-time elements, but needless to say, it's a fantastic looking game as well. It comes to us from developer Airship Syndicate, best known for a very similar game in Battle Chasers Night War, so it appears that Riot isn't taking a huge risk for now, with quality developers making games in genres that they are familiar with. I do still think that it's weird to have League of Legends games on Steam, since they have always run in their own client, but it's a nice change of pace, taking the #1 spot. For more RPG titles, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.